thinking we could do a little shop tour kind of and show what I used to own, and before I sold the company, or you know, where my part of the shop was. Oh, that light kind of changes in here, doesn't it? I don't know what the deal is. Okay. What I used to what I had when I had the company, or what part of this building was my shop, and then I sold it almost to 2005, so it's been almost coming up on 12 years ago almost. And then I bought some other equipment later, maybe about 5 years ago. They asked me to move back in the building, and with the equipment I had purchased after that, because I rented a space about 3 or 4 miles down the street here, and the lease was coming up on that, and they asked me to move back in here to machine some parts they were doing out of titanium for Baker Hughes. And so I moved back in the building, and I pay the people that bought my business rent to be in here. But it's kind of a nice setup because man, see how much that light changes right here? It's kind of weird. I don't know what's causing that. They just give me the work to do. So basically I just take the material or whatever off the pallet, machine it, and I pay for my tooling and my rent and whatever, and I put it back on the pallet and invoice them for it. And it's really an interesting setup, almost like this made, you know, like impossible to attain this kind of an arrangement. But I've been lucky enough they do it for me, and I get all the benefits of being in the big shop. The air, they supply air, electricity, and all that. All I have to do is pay rent. I don't pay for any of that. Internet service. There are people that clean the shop, clean around my areas too. So it's going to take a little walk through here and show my equipment and what I'm doing, and what some of the equipment that's been purchased since I sold the business. Today's nobody's here but me, so the front office is locked up, so I can't really go through that. But we can look at everything else pretty much. Okay, right here is this Integrex machine. It's an E650H that I purchased when I moved back in the building because I needed this piece of equipment to do the parts that I was machining for them. Here's some of the tooling. I made this rack to hold tools that I wasn't using. I'm not the neatest person in the world, so it's a little bit disorganized around here. This is some more tooling. This is some used end mills that have since been, well, they're not really totally worn out. I could resharpen them on my grinder, but it's a little bit of tooling. This is the computer I've been using to program. Here, drawing. I display drawings on this bigger TV screen, basically. Monitor. I'm watching a video with Casey Neistat on it. Kind of like him. It's interesting. So anyway, this is the Integrex. This is a pretty good sized machine. I'm machining this little teeny parts in it, but it requires the 5-axis setup kind of to do certain features of this part, so that's why I'm doing that. I'm actually filming a little bit of that with this GoPro camera right here inside. This is the control. It has a Mazotrol control, although I rarely run Mazotrol programs. It's running down through a G-code program right now. So that's that thing. Some more tools. It's a gauge pins, stuff like that. These are the parts I've been working on here with this. Right now we're working on this longer part here. Okay, this side of the shop I didn't have. They took out a wall that was right here See where these double yellow posts are? So there, a wall went across from about where that yellow corner of that wall is, that yellow beam, and it went across here and over to here, right where the corner of that wall is. There was a wall across here, and this side over here I didn't have when I owned the shop. This has been broken out and built out since I sold the business. So this side is where my shop was. And some of this equipment I didn't own, that's been bought since. They've sold some of it and bought other equipment. Like I didn't have this slant 50 or this small Haas here, this VF3, or this bridge mill. But these milling machines over here, they've bought this Toyota vertical mill since too. Toyota, these are pretty decent machines here. Had pretty good success with those. I don't really care for their bridge mill here, this bigger bridge mill that Toyota makes. I think this has problems with it that I don't really care for, particularly with the spindle. They had to replace the spindle once on that machine already, and it's only like, I don't know, 3 years old. This is a Quantum. This machine belonged to me at one time, and so did this other Quantum. 1500. That's a 1200, I think, or 1250 over there. That one. So and this other Quantum here, this green one. Well, actually, all of these Quantums belonged to me one time when I owned the shop. Here, over here, where these two Haas's are sitting, and there's a Mazak lathe behind them. I actually had a pallet pool here with two horizontal machining centers, and it had 24 pallets in a pallet pool along the wall there, where it could change and run pallets into the horizontal mills. These machines are pretty new here. These Haas's VF5, the 50 taper. They run these segments on these machines. I don't see any parts right here, but these are actually pretty nice little machines. I think they do pretty good, even though a lot of people don't like Haas's for heavier work. These are not bad. They do pretty good. They have the 50 taper with the, I don't know if you can see it, they're the side tool changer, and they do all right. This is a 150 ton press here, hydraulic press. This is a Mazak. I don't know the model of this machine. I got to look here. They call it a quick turn Nexus. I don't know if you can read that. Nexus 450 whatever. This machine is kind of special in that it has this big boring bar in the tailstock. It can extend this bar out. It's like a 100 millimeter, or almost 4 inches in diameter, heavy metal, and it can extend that thing way out, like I think it's 1,000 millimeters long. So it's a pretty good sized bar. And then of course this has a steady rest, the chuck, and this new style turret that Mazak puts in their machines. I'm not that impressed with this turret setup on the new Mazaks. I think it's weak, but it works all right. I mean, and this one has, of course, live. It doesn't have any live tool holders in there, but it's got, well, it does up there. There's one of them right there. That so it can do milling on this machine as well. It's got a Y-axis as well on this machine. So that machine didn't belong to me. They bought that since I owned the shop. This is where the pallet pool was, in this whole area here when I owned the shop. The brake room was over there. That's the same as when I had it. And over here, down this way, some trucks. I think they bought one more truck since I've had it. I own 2 trucks. They bought another one of these flatbed trucks. here, heading over here. This is like the shipping and receiving area, and an office behind there, and Toyota forklift. That belonged to me. I like that. That's a nice forklift right there. In here, through this door, if I could open the door, is the inspection area. Let's see if we go to switch here. Okay. So this is the inspection area. It hadn't changed too much. They enlarged it a little bit since I owned the shop, but other than that, it's pretty much the same equipment. Here, I think they did buy this roamer arm. I didn't have that, and I had some different CMMs in here. We had a larger Zeiss which they sold, and they bought that littler one. But other than that, this is pretty much the same. I think they bought a few more height gauges, though. I didn't have this many height gauges. And other than that, pretty much the same. This is a calibration thing, a gauge maker calibrate measuring instruments of any kind, basically. You can do a lot of things on that if they would utilize it, but they don't really utilize it too good, actually. And this is locked up here in this door right now because nobody's here, but this is the front reception area, and over there is a conference room. But other than that, they kind of changed this a little bit in here, but it's pretty much the same. There's behind those doors in there, there's like extra parts that are stock and stuff in there. So that's the shipping and the inspection area right there. Better turn the light on. Office behind that window and another office behind that window. Over there goes to the break room, restrooms, that way. Slant 50 Mazak. They bought that since I sold the shop, and also this Nexus, whatever. This is similar to the other machine I just showed you, except it doesn't have that big boring bar in the tailstock. It's got a smaller steady rest on here for some reason. This machine had an air chuck on it. It has a fairly big spindle bore, bigger than that chuck can do, but the air chuck, this SMW air chuck, man, I would never own one of those again. Have nothing but trouble with those air chucks. You got to be real careful about maintenance and everything. See, this machine, I don't know if I could lift this, but no. But these can mount chucks on the rear end of the spindle. So can that Slant 50 over there. You can have dual chucks on those. I didn't own this many lathes when I owned the shop because we did a lot more milling work. So they've bought these machines afterwards, a lot of these. It's a Nakamura with dual chucks and 2 turrets here. And these two Mazaks are identical to each other. What do they call this thing? Quick Turn Nexus 350. And these are alright machines, but they have a design flaw with this tailstock and this steady rest arrangement here in that tailstock. You can bring that steady rest here up about, I don't know, up only about this close, and then the tailstock can only get up to about here. Well, let's see my hand. So you can only get the tailstock about maybe 19 or 20 inches from the chuck. It's a real, with that, when you have that steady rest on there. So you'd have to, even if you took that steady rest off of there, the mount itself, I don't know if you can see in here, it's kind of dark. It's so far, maybe I can slide this back. Okay. You see the back end of that mount thing for the tailstock, for the steady rest here, sticks out so far that you can't bring the center any closer than this from the steady rest, and you can't get this any closer than up here to the chuck. And so you can never get that center, even if you took this off of the mount, any closer than about this to the chuck. So it's like a real design flaw in the whole thing. It's not, I don't know who designs these things sometimes, but they need to get a machinist to help them out, because sometimes they don't do stuff that works. It's the only way I can put it. So this was the area where the old shop was. And where these yellow posts go across is where it my shop ended. There was a wall. There was a wall right across here, right across all the way across to here, between that yellow kind of beam, all the way across to over to here, where this corner is right there. So I didn't have this whole area up here in my shop. So this Mitsubishi machine belongs to me still. This horizontal mill. This is a nice machine. It's a really good machine. I like it. And it holds, it has 80 tools in the tool changer right here. So it holds 80 tools. Cat 50 taper, 40 horsepower spindle. And this machine is really a nice machine. It's got digital scale feedback on the axes, accuracy to 60 millionths of an inch. This is a whole world of difference from, say, that Haas. They have a Haas horizontal over there. This is my 5-axis tool and cutter grinder, made by Star. It's a Star STG model. They only made 4 of these, actually, because somebody from MIT came to design this machine, and of course they designed it with all these fancy computer programs and everything, and made it's a really good machine, but it cost too much to manufacture, so they stopped making them. They only made 4 of them. And some collets for that, a Baldor grinder. This is a grinding attachment to regrind gun drill tips, optical comparator, tool setter that I use for the horizontal mill here. This is behind this thing is a Mitutoyo height gauge for this surface plate, which rarely ever gets used. Hardness tester behind here. All this stuff is mine. Wire EDM, kind of in a disassembled kind of a little bit, but it runs, but I need to put the panels back onto it. So these machines right in here still belong to me. I rent the space and I use them. This Zeiss CMM belongs to me. That's kind of why it's out here in the shop, because it's out in my area. The Contura, this is about the middle-sized one they make. Pretty nice machine. It's got the scanning vast probe system. It works good. I don't use it very much anymore. I bought it for a job, and job ran out, and now it just sits there for the most part. All these little lathes originally belonged to me before I sold the shop. All these Mazaks and a Hitachi Seiki lathe here. Hitachi Seiki kind of went out of business though, and it kind of, obsoleted this machine in a way. So another Mazak, quick turns. And also all these littler Mazaks originally belonged to me. This cutoff saw here, they bought it to saw Inconel. I had this ladder here because I was filming the tool changer up in there, and I sit in the GoPro up there. That's why it's sitting here. But they bought this to cut some 10-inch diameter Inconel 718 round bars, and didn't really perform like the manufacturer claimed it would. If it had been me, I'd have sent it back. I'm not really that impressed with this saw. It's the brand, but it works all right for other stuff, I guess, so they kept it. And why the hell you need a computer on a cutoff saw, I have no idea. I mean, I guess it has its uses, but it's really kind of overkill. This is a cutoff saw that I owned when I had the shop, and it works all right. It's a 12-inch saw. Not the best saw in the world, but these hem saws, they do the job. I had a dual saw before that a long time ago, the C10 whatever. A lot better saw than that one. Better than this orange piece of crap here too, even. So this is what they call a smaller mill area, but in reality they have this Haas horizontal mill over here, and this kind of big rotary table that they mount on it to turn into sort of a positional 5-axis setup, I guess, or well, it could be full 5-axis if they knew how to program for that. And this machine does all right. It's not nearly as nice as that Mitsubishi horizontal though. And this is the Bridgeport I had in my garage. These are the first machines that I ever owned. This Bridgeport mill and this Mirando lathe. Mirando lathe is a metric lathe. Its dials and lead screws and everything are metric, so if you want to do metric threading and everything, this is a really nice machine to do it on. If you do English threading, you got to do it like you would do metric threads on an English lathe. Once you engage the half nuts, you have to leave them engaged and reverse the spindle to back up with the threading tool. It's not too hard once you get the technique. It has this clutch thing here. You can just reverse the spindle with this thing. They ran into that with a forklift or something. See, it's all bent. Wrong. Had a digital readout on it. Accurate. Nice digital readout, but doesn't anymore for some reason. Little EDM machine. This Sharp mill didn't belong to me. They bought that since. It's kind of like a series, almost like the size of a Series 2 Bridgeport. Grinder was mine. This little thing I had in the garage, this CNC tool and cutter grinder, and did, you know, basic grinding, not really very complex type stuff. We got a bunch of stock racks here and everything. It's an office back here, kind of where they receive materials and stuff here now. So over here, some more material on these pallet racks. Here, the little Haas, and this belonged to me at one time. They haven't maintained it very nicely, but VF3, Cat 40 taper, you know, 4th axis. And then we got these are newer machines, these VF5s that they bought. Pretty good sized rotary table on that one. And this one, both more or less identical machines. Cat 50 taper. You could say these are like the ones I showed you earlier, basically the same machine. Pretty nice machines. Actually, they do pretty good. I was kind of impressed with what they can do. It's a little VF2s. I had a whole line of these VF2s. They've sold like 3 or 4 of them that I had. We did a lot of small milling jobs on those when I owned the shop. And we got somebody that does programming here, the guy on those computers. So that's basically it, how the shop looks right now. Since like I said, I sold the business in 2015. It's changed a little bit, but not too much. It's this extra area I'm walking in right now they've added, and where my Integrex is sitting. They have an I'm right next to the air compressor room. Unfortunately, it's not that loud, but because they're rotary screw air compressors. And I don't know if you can hear me now, but this is the main air compressor and a dryer for the air. This is kind of somewhat of a backup air compressor. It never really runs, but it's not too loud. See, when I'm over here, it's not, you can hear it, but it's not uncomfortable. Back behind here, on behind this chain link fence, there's a tool setter. I think this is a Zoller, something like that. Forget what this is called. I'm not impressed with this tool setter. In fact, I don't like it at all. I don't like the software on it or anything. And then they got, tooling. This is all their tooling along these racks. They don't do that great of a maintenance on this stuff. So you can see this shank of this tool, how there's all this. This is kind of this corrosion you get on the shanks is not from corrosion like rust. It's from the shank moving in the paper of the spindle. You need to keep that cleaned off of there, or else it'll actually damage the spindle of the machine over a period of time. They don't seem to care about that. Well, or else they don't, I mean, these guys just working here, they don't really care that much. It's just because it's not their money, they're not, it's not costing them anything. So that's about the way it is right now. This Mazak has what they call a capto taper on the milling spindle, which is a trigon shaped taper, as you can see, like that, not round, and it makes up against the face of the tool as well as that trigon shank. And this taper here, this is a C8 taper, they call it. That's in focus there. And actually, to give you a comparison, I have this shank so that I can put because the tool setter my tool setter takes a Cat 50 shank in it, and I don't have an adapter for this C8 taper. But you can see, if we lay these things together next to each other on the bench, you can see the size difference between a Cat 50. This is a Big Plus taper. It has if you had a Big Plus spindle, it would make up against the face as well. And this is the C8 taper on a Capto tool holder. This is a stronger connection than this is, even with the Big Plus taper shank. If you have that kind of spindle on your machine, this is still stronger than that. Even though it's smaller, the lay these on their side, you can kind of get an idea. It's shorter, but because of this trigon shaped shank, and the fact that this is thicker than an HSK taper. An HSK is similar to this, except it's round, like this shank is round, but the shanks are thinner in here on an HSK, and so they don't use as much retention force pulling that shank up into the spindle, where the Capto taper uses a higher retention force, and it makes it a stronger connection than this. Even though it's smaller, it's stronger than this Cat 50 taper. That's just a little information on Capto shanks, if it interests you. I don't know. So, and it's a modular tool system, which is really nice because you can put extensions like this, onto this shank, like that. I won't make it up, and you could extend that out, and it all runs true, and it's strong, and it doesn't give you chatter or vibration problems as much as that Cat 50 taper does. This is a large drill. This Allied drill system is a lot nicer. I forget what they call those. They have a name for it. I can't remember. It's kind of a new system of theirs. Much better than this type of tool, which is a Comet tool, which looks like this. You see, the difference is it has this little drill bit in the center, but this drill bit is a very expensive thing. It costs, I don't know if that's in focus or not, but it costs like $45 or $50 for that drill. And and this spade tip is just a standard Allied drill spade tip for a spade drill, any old spade drill. And this system works a lot better than that, even though it's very similar. It works much better. If you break that little drill in the Comet drill, it pretty much wastes the drill tip or a can if you don't catch it in time. So I don't know if we can see through the window. I really can't see anything there. So that's it. That's kind of the tour of the existing shop. When I owned the shop, it was called Edge Precision, and now it's called Centerline Manufacturing. That's why the big CMs are on the wall like that all over the place in here. Centerline Manufacturing. That's what that stands for. So just thought I'd show you a little bit around the shop as it exists now. Seeing as nobody's here for me to bother them filming things. And I got to get back to my Casey Neistat video.